Yo, what is Herb Dean doing right now? Right, those are probably the same words that many of you have used upon watching the co-main event for yesterday's card, UFC Baku. And let me just say this before I really go into my criticisms of Herb Dean. All right, first off, this is not me trying to argue that Michel Pereira could have gotten a draw. All right, like he could have, but quite frankly, I don't give a shit enough to make an argument for it because he fought in a disgraceful manner, right? And he should never be able to fight ever again in the UFC if he's gonna continue to just stare into the opponent's eyes past the first round and not do anything. But second off, though, I really want to emphasize the fact that this is not exclusive to Herb Dean. I've seen many other fighters on the roster commit some similar egregious fouls. And for some reason, though, the referees, rather than trying to enforce the rules, they would just rather bark into your face and not really do anything. So without wasting any more time, though, I want to do an analysis of Shara Bullet versus Michel Pereira. Now, fingers crossed that this clip gets through. I know the video UFC is very strict on copyright, but hey, I'm not making money off this right now, so please UFC, just let this go through for once.
Done. The way he hit the canvas, the follow-up shots.
So you see here the first warning, Herb Dean yelling at Shara Bullet not to grab the hair. All right, now again, why are you yelling at Shara Bullet in English as if Shara Bullet's gonna understand? All right, Shara Bullet literally doesn't know how to speak in English at all, so it's just kind of pointless in a way. All right, you have to physically either remove their hand from the actual foul going on, which in this case is Shara Bullet grabbing onto Michel Pereira's head, or you just take a point off, right? Like, you can't do this with foreign fighters because they could just claim ignorance. It's like, I didn't understand what the referee was saying, right? When in reality, they know what they're doing is wrong, all right? Like, grabbing the hair, no matter what promotion it is, like, that's an egregious foul. But Shara Bullet, for some reason, the rules don't apply to this man, and it's simply disgusting to watch because at the end of the day, this is arguably the reason why Shara Bullet won the fight.
And that is the first knockdown for Pereira in 7 fights. Great start for the Brazilian.
He's grabbing his...
So you can see Shara Bullet grab onto the hair once again. This is the second time that this happened. And this is like blatant because, grabbing the hair is not exactly something you do in the gray area type of thing. Eye pokes, you were trying to frame off the face and trying to get away from the fighter, right? Like, all right, that's some gray area shit, right? Not every single eye poke is like intentional, so you can always say that. But grabbing the hair is always intentional, I think. I don't know why else you would do that. Like, what possible advantage do you gain from grabbing the hair, right? You're keeping them in guard, right? Like, you're keeping them in guard, but, like, you should be able to have the skills to get out of guard and get back up to the feet regardless, right? If you're, like, a elite caliber UFC fighter, that should just simply happen. I'm sorry. And unfortunately for Shara Bullet, he needs to cheat in order to make that happen.
Hair. He's still doing it.
Now, you can hear the commentary team pointing out that Shara Bullet is still grabbing onto the hair of Michel Pereira. And by the third time, you would think, shouldn't Herb Dean take a point away? I feel like that's common sense, Clearly, the fighter is not listening to the referee when the referee is yelling, stop grabbing onto the hair. But for some reason, though, it feels like Shara Bullet just gets away with anything here, all right? This is why I don't really like Herb Dean. Herb Dean is all bark but no bite. He'll talk a big game about, you should not be grabbing the opponent's hair. But what happens when he actually does it, all right? That he doesn't do much of anything. He just ends things off with a stern warning every single time. And it's simply disgusting to look at because what is the point of that? Right? Fighters will still commit fouls. It's not like you're actively preventing anything from occurring, Herb Dean. And it's just encouraging people like Shara Bullet to do this over and over again. Right? Because you're just yelling at them in English in a language that you don't understand. And all you're doing is yelling. You're not taking a point away. You're not dragging them out and like getting the translator immediately. Like, you have to watch the same foul occur 3 times, and all you do is yell in English and just end things off with a stern warning. Simply disgraceful.
Come on, ref. Take a point.
No, he did.
So I think he's explaining.
He needs to know.
Now we can hear Herb Dean in the background with Sharp Bullet and his translator that Sharp Bullet, you know, if he commits one more foul, he should get a point taken off. Right? I think that's pretty clear. You know, if anything, I would say this is biased for Sharamagomedov. You know, he's committed 3 fouls already. Take a point away from him. Why is Herb Dean not doing anything? You know, but fair enough, all right? If he commits it a 4th time, then maybe we'll take a point off. Yeah, now we see here Sharp Bullet, you know, I think it made clear that he can't grab onto the hair, so what he does instead is gouge out Michel Pereira's eyes. All right, now fortunately for Michel Pereira, this is not like a Tom Aspinall situation where he gone partially blind. But at the same time, though, we see Herb Dean not do anything. We see Sharp Bullet shoot his fingers into Michel Pereira's eyes.
The way he hit the canvas, the follow-up.
Nothing happens. Oh, but it's not even the same foul. It was a different foul. A foul is a foul. As Herb Dean said, if he commits one more foul, he's going to take a point away. Why does Sharp Bullet not get a point taken away after what just happened? Doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. So I really want to emphasize the fact that Herb Dean, he has been an awful ref as of recently, and this is just the latest example. You know, I watched Herb Dean try to justify himself regarding the back of the head shots between Pereira and Cyril Gane, and let me just say this is possibly the worst way you could have justified it. When you look at the referees, though, like, honestly, it's sad to say, but Herb Dean's one of the better refs. Right? Mark Goddard is a roided up retard. So is Mike Beltran. Jason Herzog is possibly gambling in fights here and there. Like, there's a lot of questionable referees in the UFC. Yet, for some reason, Herb Dean just gets away with just blatantly allowing fighters to cheat. I don't know what this is, all right? Maybe the Alex Pereira one is like, all right, fine. Maybe those shots weren't to the back of the head, even though we saw Cyril Gane at least throw a couple in there. But yeah, more importantly, though, Sharp Bullet is blatantly cheating in front of Herb Dean, and once again, Herb Dean doesn't really do anything to punish the fighter. He just ends things off with a stern warning here, guys. You know, ooh, be careful of Herb Dean here. He's a bad man here, folks. But yeah, that's where I want to end things off for today. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can monetize this channel. But leave your comments down below what you guys think about this fight in general, as well as Herb Dean's officiating, because as of recently, it has been quite shit. And it's kind of sad to see, because at one point, I did consider Herb Dean as a solid referee. But yeah, he's not showing that anymore, right? Either he's checked out, or he's probably gambling on fights. I don't know which one. But yeah, otherwise, though, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.